There's room for piano teachers and parents to do a lot better, and the good news is lessons are more fun and work way better if you know what to look for. So stick around and I'll show you how to make lemons into lemons that play piano. With the millions and millions of dollars spent on piano lessons every year, you have to wonder why more people aren't musical. Well, after teaching thousands of piano lessons and being in tons of conferences with parents, teachers, and researchers, I'm certain that it's not because people don't have musical potential. It's because the way we do piano lessons doesn't fit with reality when it comes to helping students succeed with piano music. There's a big gap between why parents put kids into lessons and what kids actually get out of them. I'm going to address parents in this video, but keep in mind that most of what I talk about here doesn't just apply to kids in lessons, but it applies to adults taking piano lessons too. The thought sequence for learning music isn't based on your age after all. No matter how old you are, piano lessons have jumped the shark. In a perfect world, if you had a kid who was interested in piano, sending them to piano lessons would make a lot of sense. In this world, an interested and hard-working kid would do just as well studying YouTube tutorials and learning a DAW. It's so bad that expecting a kid to do really well in piano lessons is like expecting me to make it to the NFL. And I don't even like basketball. I hate to say it, but a lot of what modern piano lessons are about is making the teacher feel smart. I don't care about that. I'm here to make you smart, if you're into it. There's room for piano teachers and parents to do a lot better, and the good news is lessons are more fun and work way better if you know what to look for. So stick around and I'll show you how to make lemons into lemons that play piano. So here are the 3 reasons piano lessons are so ineffective. First, piano teachers try to teach students things they aren't prepared to learn. There might have been a magical time 100 years ago when there was a piano in everybody's house and people got together and sang and danced on a regular basis for entertainment. That helped people succeed in piano lessons. And don't get me wrong, lots of us still do those things, but for many people, singing and moving just isn't done. Music is everywhere, but we listen to it passively, so we can't build on that when you seriously want to learn. If you go into piano lessons when you're not used to singing and moving, and teachers try to teach you using the methods that might have worked 100 years ago, results are not going to be good. Just think if we taught language that way. Imagine children going all week without hearing people have conversations, and then take them into a 30-minute talking lesson and hope they'll learn to communicate. Not going to happen. On top of that, what if we tried to teach them to talk by telling them how to move their mouth and tongue and lips, but not showing them how to think? If we did it that way, the next generation would not be talking, and that's what's happened in piano lessons. But there's good news here. Thinking and talking is such a complex skill, but almost everyone is able to do it. Guess what? Everybody's able to play a keyboard too. These problems are easy to solve with a good teacher, but there's not much accountability in the piano teaching field, so it's hard to know which teachers are really going to be good. Anyway, the second reason piano lessons are ineffective is that teachers usually teach things out of sequence. Teachers feel a lot of pressure to produce results fast. And when we try to make new students sound like polished professionals right out of the gate, we end up putting the cart before the horse. There are 3 specific areas where this is a huge problem: sight reading, music theory, and formal recitals. Those things have their place, but we don't use those things for teaching anymore. We use them for gatekeeping. And our society as a whole is so musically dumb, we can't afford to gatekeep. We need everyone, including you, to find their musical voice. Take music reading. It's an important skill, but if we try to force students to learn it too early, there's nothing that turns them away quicker. It doesn't help that most piano lesson books put reading on page 1. But can you imagine if we tried to teach babies to talk that way? It takes children years to develop a vocabulary of words they can use, and they have to go through that process before they can read fluently. Now, I know a lot of teachers and even students and parents are going to want to tell me how wrong I am and about how reading is the most important musical skill, and if we don't teach it from day one, students are going to be illiterate. I know teachers who literally talk like that, but I'm happy to say those fears aren't based in reality. Students that are prepared properly in the early years of lessons are going to have an easier time learning to read music. I just don't see teaching reading from lesson 1 working anywhere, no matter how hard teachers push it, and you probably don't either. If you want your kid to do great with piano lessons, you have to give them the time it takes to develop their music vocabulary. A good teacher knows exactly how to help them do that so that those first years of lessons aren't wasted. The first years of lessons should be filled with doing music. That makes it possible for them to read later at the appropriate time. And parents, I have to call y'all out on this. I know there are a lot of piano teachers out there who don't have all the best training, but a lot of parents who took lessons for a few years, 25 years ago, don't have that technical training either. The technical side of teaching is a different animal than learning how to play. Thinking you can teach just because you had lessons a long time ago is like me thinking I'm a computer programmer just because I figured out how to start a YouTube channel. Music theory is a similar scenario. How many people do you know who can talk? Almost everyone, right? How many of those people studied language theory? Not very many. And yet somehow a few people talk about music theory like it's the single most important thing to teach in piano lessons. Well, guess what? If you're learning practical musical skills, it's not necessary to spend 1 second talking about music theory. And this is coming from someone who's great at theory. I tested out of the basic theory classes in undergrad and grad school. And what about formal recitals? Teachers love to talk about how important those recitals are to help build confidence. But teachers really only teach confidence when they don't know how to teach music. If kids are learning skills, confidence takes care of itself. But for every kid who totally rocks it at the recital, 100 are traumatized and decide music isn't for them. It's a tragedy because that's not true. Music is for everybody. We don't have to sacrifice the one for the other 100 either. Good teachers know how to nurture each student according to their potential. As it is now, parents watch student recitals the same way we watch a NASCAR race, for the wrecks. Good teachers know how to create performance opportunities for students that aren't formal recitals. These are informal mini concerts that include improvisation and collaboration, and they're actually fun with lots of great learning. It's just wild to me that these 3 things, music reading, music theory, and formal recitals, have become the specific things that teachers advertise and parents ask for, but they're also the specific things that usually turn kids off. I'm not saying every teacher who teaches those things is teaching badly. There's a time and place for those things that can be useful. But it's also possible to have piano lessons that are very high quality that don't include those 3 things at all in the early years or ever. I even bet some of your favorite musicians skipped all 3 of those things. Finally, the third reason piano lessons are ineffective is that teachers keep students sitting down on the piano bench for way too long, 30 minutes to an hour sometimes. People have to move to learn music, and that's true for kids and adults. Most of learning music happens in your mind and body, not at the piano. That's 3 big reasons piano lessons are so ineffective. Students aren't prepared to learn, skills are taught out of sequence, and students have to sit still. It's a pretty bleak picture for parents who want their kids to do well. But just imagine how it feels for the kids. Keep in mind that those 3 things are the norm in piano lessons. Parents and teachers and the general public expect piano lessons to include those things without question. Therefore, since the old-fashioned stuff we look for is so ineffective, it follows that high-quality lessons have to have some activities that seem unexpected or unusual. That doesn't mean just any unexpected or unusual piano lesson is going to be good, but there are some fun and smart strategies to help every child learn music that are backed up by a lot of research. Piano teachers who are trained to use these strategies teach lessons where students are engaged and learning in every lesson. Students in these lessons learn to improvise from the very beginning. They create music every day. They learn the skills to play standard repertoire with passion and understanding. And they can also learn theory and reading and perform in recitals if that's where they decide to go with their training. So how do you know if a piano teacher knows how to use those good strategies? That's what I'm going to talk about in next week's video. So click subscribe and the notification bell so you won't miss my next video on how to screen for a great piano teacher that will make piano lessons super effective. In the meantime, make sure you're caught up watching all of my piano hacks videos, starting with this one, so if you're already taking lessons, you can make them effective too.